but
Hello, Stephanie.
let's be
I'll sit in this
this in this area. Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamandire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, under Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and under Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Pray Shri Bhadra Shri Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavaru Tamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. My regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, my rendering service of pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service under the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada. I'm going to read today from Canto 4. Jirka is online, and Reina, hi Reina, Hare Krishna, and Rukmini. And here we have Dear Govinda, and Anasuya, and Stephanie, and Rosemary. Thank you all for being here to hear Bhagavatam. Be with us. We're reading from Canto 4. The verse that we're reading today is in chapter 21 from, it's called Instructions by Maharaj Prithu. So it's a long, he's been instructing for quite a while, and there's so many juicy verses, it was hard to land on one. This happened to be the one for today, and it was perfect, of course. Text 43 is the verse. I didn't write it on the board for you guys. Totally forgot. How about we just, since we're reading Varaha pastimes, we just abbreviate some things?
Yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you. Text 43, I'll read the Sanskrit and then we'll just kind of jump right in. Te shamaham pada saroja renum aryavaheyadi kiritam ayu yam nichara bibrata ashupapam nashyat yamum sarva guna bhajanti. Tesham, all of them, aham, I, pada, feet, saroja, lotus, renum, dust, arya, O respectable persons, vaheya, shall bear, adi, up to, kiritam, helmet, ayu, up to the end of life, yam, which, nichada, always, babrata, carrying, ashu, very soon, papam, sinful activities, nashati, are vanquished, amum, all those, sarvaguna, fully qualified, bhajanti, worship. Thank you for adjusting. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O respectable personalities present here, I beg the blessings of all of you, that I may perpetually carry on my crown the dust of the lotus feet of such Brahmas and Vaishnavas until the end of my life. He who can carry such dust on his head is very soon delivered of all the reactions which arise from sinful life, and eventually he develops all good and desirable qualities. Short purport. It is said that one who has unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means unflinching faith in the Vaishnavas, or the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord, develops all the good qualities of the demigods. Prahlad Maharaj also said, Nasham matis tavad uru kamangrim, Bhagavad Purana 7.532. Unless one takes the dust of the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnava on one's head, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who he is. And unless one knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's life remains imperfect. A great soul who has fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord, and after understanding him fully, and after repeatedly undergoing austerities and penances for many, many lives, is very rare. The crown of a king is simply a big load if the king or head of the state does not actually bear the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmins and Vaishnavas. In other words, if a liberal king like Prithu Maharaj does not follow the instructions of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, or does not follow the Brahminical culture, he's simply a burden on the state, for he cannot benefit the citizens. Maharaj Prithu is the perfect example of an ideal chief executive. So we've been reading every morning about Maharaj Prithu and his qualities, his Brahminical qualities, his perfection, he's got this leadership model that's just brought the world back to restoration, because it fell out of Dharma because of the previous king, Vena. So he's corrected it. He's come back and restored Dharma by just being not just a good person, not just a decent guy, and not just an average leader, but really jumping in there and turning the whole thing around. And we do that by having Krishna consciousness. There's no other way. Can't fix it with just being good, being a good leader, giving everybody raises and vacations or whatever that looks like, and being nice. It's not what it's about. So he's speaking, of course this has been going on for weeks, months now, but he's speaking to a large assembly. Everybody's there. The demigods are even there, Krishna's there, and all the citizens of the world, not just the state or the country, but the entire world are there listening. And they're glad that he turned things around. The earth wasn't producing for a while. It got dried up from all of the negative, and that's what happens when we don't, when we're not in alignment with our relationship with God. There's a reciprocal relationship that just desists because there's no sacrifice going on. So if I'm not going to do my rounds, offer my food, I'm just going to live my independent life. I'm going to pick up the Bhagavatam every now and then, or maybe never. Maybe I don't even know what the Bhagavatam is. I didn't for a long time. Maybe I never even picked up the Bible. I didn't do that either. So maybe I could just go on with that, with nothing, and definitely I wouldn't receive much back in my life of any consequence. So Prithu he was manifested by the sages out of the king that had so messed everything up. So he's an incarnation of Krishna, and that's what we're going to talk about today with Varaha. He's an incarnation. He's a Shaktavesha avatar, so he's here on a mission. And all of the incarnations are here on a mission, right? I mean, yeah. You can certainly correct me, thank you, because in here it says, when I'm reading this this purport, I beg the blessings of all of you. So I beg the blessings of all of you, because this is a lot of new material, and I just read the Varaha pastime. I'd read it before. I'd been here for many celebrations, but none of it was in my heart. So I meditated on it yesterday, and it's new to me. And I'll attempt today to try to bring Varaha's pastime into Maharaj Prithu's pastime, so that we can see the consistencies in the inconceivableness, because it's definitely inconceivable stuff. Someone is ruler of the whole world, and they're all there. So grateful. Everyone's devotees and devoted, and happy to be there, and glad to have the king correct Dharma. So Dharma falls off sometimes and all the time. And so Krishna incarnates for that very reason, to come back and say, okay, we got to line it up again. We got to reorchestrate. It got lost, just like, when Krishna was speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, it needs to be repeated. It has to come back up. So Krishna has to show up and do this. So in today's lesson, he's showing up twice. And I'm looking up there how many times he showed up. Who knows what form he's going to take when he shows up. And yes, it shouldn't be understood by my tiny brain. It should be so inconceivable, because it's God, because it's Krishna. It's not something that I've mentally created. So this purport of this assembly of pure devotees and Vaishnavas and the sages are all there, and pleasing them. And when we please them, we go to them in a submissive state, and we ask for guidance, which is so hard for me because I'm so independent, and there is no room for independence in this movement. So each day I pray and I wish and I clamor for some little bit of that to fall off, because I can't go to my knees and ask Prabhupada when I need money or courage. I need to just develop those Vaishnava qualities, like Maharaj Prithu and like Mama Deva, and like a pure devotee. So guess what? I've had an intervention. Prabhupada showed up in my life, and I get to see what it looks like. I've got a role model in Prabhupada, and I've got a role model in all of these pastimes. And Maharaj Prithu is the ultimate role model, because he's an incarnation. He's a direct incarnation. So this is his purpose. So Dharma can't be squandered right now, because everything's been realigned and Dharma restored. Are y'all with me here? Because I'm reading all this at home, and I know y'all aren't. So ask me if there's something I'm not being clear on, and I might be able to answer it.
You're reading this at your Mangal Arti early morning program?
Morning program I have with Anasuya and Rosemary and several others come and go, but we're steady every morning. So we're reading Canto 4, and we know kind of what's going on. And so sometimes, it's really nice to have the backstory and the whole, and there's so much more than what's on these pages, because there's all the other lines of information and knowledge coming from other books too. But for today's sake, for this short discussion, in text 43, we're going to focus on the leadership qualities and the lack of Dharma that's been turned around. So now we've had Dharma restored because Krishna descends as a Shaktivesha avatar, which is what Prabhupada is, and I think Jesus is Jesus.
Jesus is a Shaktivesha avatar.
It's time to come down and straighten things out.
Yes,
and so
yes.
Maybe he comes as a person that we can recognize that looks human. Of course, he's not affected by the gunas. He's transcendental. But maybe he comes in something really, really bizarre, because he can. And to think that God would always show up as something we could personally understand seems a little bit unrealistic. So to think, it's going to be out of this world, bizarre, right? He could do anything, and he could do nothing. He could just let it, but he cares. So Krishna's mercy, Krishna's compassion, and desire to see us devotees down here and give us mercy and intervene when it's necessary. So that's kind of what's happening in our verse today. And then there's a lot of talk about the lotus feet, the dust of the lotus feet on Prithu's crown. And of course there's going to be dust on his crown, because he can't be a true 100% A+ personality Vaishnava pure devotee if he's not bowed down and submissive to Krishna and all of his incarnations and all of these Vaishnavas. So he's not only that to the highest, but he's like that with the citizens. He's even down at their feet saying, blessings to you, thank you. What can I do for you? Because they've come to him in such distress, because the world had dried up and they're starving. So they're just all for him, because he has humility and he's compassionate. So he's this ultimate leader. So the dust of the lotus feet, I remember hearing that for the first time and not really understanding what that means, and I'm not sure I really even do now. But the feet are the lowest, they're in the dirt, but it's not dirt that's coming off of their feet, it's transcendental dust, and literally, but but more than that, I'm bowed down, I'm subservient, I'm submissive, I'm inquisitive. King Prithu has the ability to rule as a Vaishnav leader, but he's not taking it to his head and going, well, here's what you're going to do, and here's what you're going to do, and I got this all figured out, and give me this tax money, and how about that feast over there, and get me some women over here. Like, he's totally about, how can I serve? So he's, how can I serve to them and for them? And they're saying, oh, this is what that looks like. And so they're into it. And he got that way from the parampara, from being selfless, from his relationship with God and Krishna. So he's developed that. And of course it's all prearranged, but the citizens and everybody's involved, and I'm involved today. I'm reading it. Yesterday I was reading it. So it's gone throughout millennia as a story of this is how it could be, and it starts with us and us all being leaders like Maharaj Prithu, and wanting dust on our feet. You know, I've seen lots of videos of people putting dust on their feet in program and different places, like, and I don't know all about that, so I won't go into it. I'm tempted to, but I won't. Okay, so that's what's going on in this chapter. We've got this, how he'll be a burden if he doesn't wear the dust, if he doesn't bow down, surrender, and have that relationship. He's not capable of being a world-class A1 leader. He's not capable. You can't do it. They don't go hand in hand. It may look like it for a minute, so you have to bear the dust. And you can't bear the dust unless you know God, because you can't know God unless you're down below at the feet level. And this morning I was at the altar touching the feet on my forehead, and I realized I don't know where I got that from. You didn't teach that to me. No, you didn't teach that to me, and Molly didn't teach it to me. But it always felt like something when I go to the altar every morning. I touch all the feet. There's lots of them up there. I touch them to my head, and so this verse was very meaningful to me, because I always feel every day like I was a devotee in my last life, and I did something really bad to screw it up, but I found it again, and I'm grateful, because some things just come to me so naturally that I think like that. I don't know how I know to put dust on my feet. There's no dust, but there's dust, you know. So I was thinking about this morning, like, how grateful I am. I don't know who would have thought I'd be playing a drum and standing in here and cooking prasadam and understanding all of this early morning stuff is just transcendental. It's in my heart, and I had to get some barnacles and some dust off and see that that's not the person I wanted to be. That's not the person I was, and to let it all rise up and develop and look at my diamond shining again. So Prabhupada also mentions in this purport unflinching faith. So there's some faith in Bal Shraddha. There's faith. It's not blind faith, as Dear Govinda will say a lot. It's just faith. Faith. The first time I came in here and I heard Prabhupada, something clicked in my heart. And then I read Bhagavad Gita, even though I didn't understand it, something was clicking in my heart. I would look out through the screen porch when I was reading Bhagavad Gita at my old house, and I would see the trees. And there was a little peephole between two big trees where some blue would come in. And then I read, Krishna's blue, so I was like, I would just pray to that little space. And I'd never prayed in my life. I don't know what it was. It was something was preparing me for today. And Dear Govinda at Savatov, my stretch was to lead a class, because he knew it was stretchy, because I keep it all in my head. I'm very independent, very solo, and so I get a stretch to be in front and leading a class on whatever. I don't remember. Oh gosh, y'all, that was so hard. It feels like today. So yesterday when I was reading, I was feeling those feelings again, that discomfort. And then I go back to this phrase, the best way out is through. You can't conquer the fear. You can't move beyond whatever it is that I think I'm less than or weaker. It can't be conquered by me just subtracting and contracting and going back into weakness and getting into my head. I have to step into the discomfort. So every time I come here and lead class, I get to step back into that stretch feeling and go, well, it's not as stretchy as it was. And if I keep doing this. And then yesterday when we were reading Srimad Bhagavatam, in text 42, just before this one, there's a really nice sentence at the end of the third or fourth paragraph that says, one should therefore study the Vedas with faith, not only for one's personal knowledge, but for the sake of spreading this knowledge and these activities through real faith and the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Vedas. So yeah, I have an obligation. It says right here, spread it. It's not just for me, because I could stay home at my desk and just relish, I love it. Yesterday I had 2 computer screens open and all the books, and it just feels so good. And I just get so excited about how it feels, and learning how to be a decent devotee, and getting comfortable with the inconceivableness of it, and getting more steady in my practice because of it. So yeah, these verses speak to me personally every day, and leading class is the way it sinks in the best, not reading to myself. So I do read to myself a lot, but luckily I have Honesty and Rosemary there almost every day, listening and asking questions. So I'm going to take that information, and I'm going to put it aside, and I'm going to look at, I want to read one thing before we go into Varaha, and that's, there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that kind of says what's going on here with this restoration of Dharma. And our Dharma is to serve. You can't separate it. We can't not be. We're going to serve. It's just a matter of what were they serving back in King Vena's time. They were serving King Vena and serving themselves and starving, and not putting any kind of dust of any kind of acharya or sage on their head. They were living in their head like I have done and still do. So then I said, well, I've heard Dear Govinda repeat this verse probably 1,000 times. I don't know it by heart, but it came to mind. So he pop quizzed us this morning after we did Mangal Arti. So I'm gonna pop quiz anybody. There's a perfect verse for this. I know that Dear Govinda knows what it is. Does anybody else have any idea what has to do, a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that has to do with restoring Dharma? I'll give you a clue. It's in the 4th chapter. Somebody online? Rukmini? Rukmini knows. I know she knows. I'm going to have to tell you. Do you know which one I'm talking about? You recite this verse more than any other verse, I think.
Well, it would be 4, 6, 7, or 8. Mm-hmm. And 4, 8 is Pavitranaya Sarvimam Vinashaya Chaduskritam Dharma Samstapanataya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge.
Yeah.
That's the one you had in mind.
Back one. Yada Dharma Bhavati
That's a special verse for me.
It is.
It's a special verse for me for various reasons.
I've heard you talk about that verse a lot, so much so that it came to me. See, we don't think we're learning anything sometimes. It synced in, and it exactly popped up was, wait, this is what Dear Govinda talks about in his travels in the Middle East. So, and when he was on Sri Krishna, so I went to it, and there's so much in that purport about what's happening with King Prithu and what's happening with Lord Varahadeva. So I was just going to read a couple of things out of the purport from the 4th chapter.
What's the translation of that?
Translation: whenever and wherever there's decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. It's perfect, right?
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
That's good for today.
It's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect. And then we're going to talk a lot today about forms, because this could really, all of us have witnessed, or at least we're used to the forms of Krishna a little bit, so we're not, but you read a boar come out of a nostril of Brahma on the lotus flower in the Garbhodaksha ocean, you could be like, whoa, this is too much. And I've heard that a lot from devotees, like it's too much, or people trying to, so I know it's too much. But we have a group here today who everybody's heard this, so it's good. I'm glad that I'm not sitting here with some newcomers and having to. I would rely on Dear Govinda. So whenever and wherever there's decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So we've got some irreligion going on before King Vena, and he's Krishna incarnated through him, Shakti Avatar. So now we go to Lord Varaha, who is Leela Avatar. Is that correct?
He's a
Leela Avatar.
Yeah.
And he is Vishnu Tattva.
He's Vishnu Tattva.
Okay. And he's come as a boar, a pig, but not literally. But he's come to restore. The earth has been placed in the ocean of Garbhodaksha ocean, not our ocean, but the ocean that fills up part of the universe, where Garbhodaksha Vishnu is, and there's all this stuff that's way over my absorption level at this point in my life, but I get the image. I've seen the image too, and I understand that Hiranyaksha is the one that put it there. He's the brother of Hiranyakashipu, and as I understand it, they're some kind of demon incarnations of Jai Vijay, maybe. Okay, so it could go out there. I'm not capable of expanding all of that in detail, but I made some copies of the pastime of Lord Varaha since it is his appearance day. I thought we'd go there for a minute. So I'm going to just let dear Grimley, maybe you can take those and pass them around. There's a copy enough for everybody. And we'll just alternately read and see what's happening in chapter 13 of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're going to read chapter 13, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3. And we're on text 14 through 34, which is just a few pages of discussion about what to do as Brahma sort of puts his, he's taking it in. What do I do here? The boar came out of his nostril unexpectedly because the earth was shoved into the ocean. So I'll start, and then we'll just go around, and anybody that wants to read. If anybody online wants to read, just please chime in, any of you guys. So starting chapter 13, text 4, Sri Manu said, all powerful.
Text 14?
14,
Yeah.
O all-powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place and that of the living entities born of me. O Master, the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth, which is merged in the great water. Because it is the dwelling place for all living entities, it can be done by your endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord. Purport: the great water mentioned in this connection is the Garbhodak ocean, which fills half the universe. Text 16. Sri Maitreya said, thus seeing the earth merged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time to how it could be lifted. Purport for 16. According to Jiva Goswami, the topics delineated here are from different millenniums. The present topics are the fated Varaha millennium, and topics regarding the Chakshusha millennium will also be discussed in this chapter. So, as David and I clarified via email, he shows up in different millennia and different stories, and sometimes it's kind of amalgamated into one Varaha pastime.
And sometimes there's a red Varaha incarnation and there's a white Varaha incarnation. That's why sometimes we'll see slightly different depictions.
Okay, so I'll stop there.
17.
Yeah, 17.
Brahma thought, while I have been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge and has gone down into the depths of the ocean. What can we do who are engaged in this matter of creation? It is best to let the Almighty Lord direct us. Report. The devotees of the Lord, who are all confidential servitors, are sometimes perplexed in the discharge of their respective duties, but they are never discouraged. They have full faith in the Lord, and he paves the way for the smooth progress of the devotee's duty. 18. O sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. 19. O descendant of Bharata, while Brahma was observing him, the boar became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation as gigantic as a great elephant.
Verse 20. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, with great brahmanas like Marichi, as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways. Is this some extraordinary entity come in the pretense of a boar? It is very wonderful that he has come from my nose. 22. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of my thumb, and within a moment he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. Is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu? Since Brahma is the supermost person in the universe, and he had never before experienced such a form, he could guess that the wonderful appearance of the boar was an incarnation of Vishnu. The uncommon features symptomatic of the incarnation of Godhead can bewilder even the mind of Brahma.
Text 23. While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, roared tumultuously like a great mountain. Purport. It appears that great hills and mountains also have their roaring power because they also are living entities. The volume of the sound vibrated is in proportion to the size of the material body. While Brahma was guessing about the appearance of the Lord's incarnation as a boar, the Lord confirmed Brahma's contemplation by roaring with his gorgeous voice. Text 24. The omnipotent Supreme Person of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. Purport. Brahma and other enlightened Brahmanas who know the Supreme Personality of Godhead are enlivened by the appearance of the Lord in any of his multi-incarnations. The appearance of the wonderful and gigantic incarnation of Vishnu as the mountain-like boar did not fill them with any kind of fear, although the Lord's resounding voice was tumultuous and echoed horribly in all directions as an open threat to all demons who might challenge his omnipotency.
Text 25. When the great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Boar, which was the all-auspicious sound of the all-merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the three Vedas. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Maya Maya is very significant in this verse. Maya means mercy, specific knowledge, and also illusion. Therefore, Lord Boar is everything. He is merciful, he is all knowledge, and he is illusion also. The sound which he vibrated as the boar incarnation was answered by the Vedic hymns of the great sages in the planets Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. The highest intellectual and pious living entities live in those planets, and when they heard the extraordinary voice of the boar, they could understand that the specific sound was vibrated by the Lord and no one else. Therefore they replied by praying to the Lord with Vedic hymns. The earth planet was submerged in the mire, but on hearing the sound of the Lord, the inhabitants of the higher planets were all jubilant because they knew that the Lord was there to deliver the earth. Therefore Brahma and all the sages, such as Bhrigu, Brahma's other sons, and learned Brahmins were enlivened, and they concertedly joined in praising the Lord with the transcendental vibrations of the Vedic hymns. The most important is the Brihanaradiya Purana verse, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
26. Playing like an elephant, he entered into the water after roaring again in reply to the Vedic prayers by the great devotees. The Lord is the object of the Vedic prayers, and thus he understood that the devotees' prayers were meant for him. Purport. The form of the Lord in any shape is always transcendental and full of knowledge and mercy. The Lord is the destroyer of all material contamination because his form is personified Vedic knowledge. All the Vedas worship the transcendental form of the Lord. In the Vedic mantras, the devotees request the Lord to remove the glaring effulgence because it covers his real face. That is the version of the 8th Upanishad. The Lord has no material form, but his form is always understood in terms of the Vedas. The Vedas are said to be the breath of the Lord, and that breath was inhaled by Brahma, the original student of the Vedas. The breathing from the nostril of Brahma caused the appearance of the Lord Boar, and therefore the boar incarnation of the Lord is the personified Vedas. The glorification of the incarnation by the sages on the higher planets consisted of factual Vedic hymns. Whenever there's a glorification of the Lord, it is to be understood that the Vedic mantras are being rightly vibrated. The Lord was therefore pleased when such Vedic mantras were chanting, and to encourage his pure devotees, he roared once more and entered the water to rescue the submerged earth.
Would someone online like to read? I don't know if anyone is following along.
Hare Krishna, Arjuna Das. Okay, I can try one.
Thank you, Arjuna.
27. Before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Bore flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hoofs and his glittering white tusks. Purport. When the Lord is offered prayers by his devotees, his transcendental activities are described. Here are some of the transcendental features of Lord Bore. As the residents of the upper three planetary systems offered their prayers to the Lord, it is understood that his body expanded throughout the sky, beginning from the topmost planet Brahmalok or Satyalok. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that his eyes are the sun and the moon. Therefore, his very glance over the sky was as illuminating as the sun or the moon. The Lord is described herein as Mahidra, which means either a big mountain or the sustainer of the earth. In other words, the Lord's body was as big and hard as the Himalayan mountains. Otherwise, how was it possible that he kept the entire earth on the support of his white tusk? The poet Jayadev, a great devotee of the Lord, has sung of the incident in his prayers for the incarnation. Vasati Dashana Shikhare Dharanita Valagna Shashini Kalanka Kalevani Magna Keshava Shukara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. All glories to Lord Keshava Krishna, who appeared as the boar. The earth was held between his tusks, which appeared like the scars on the moon.
The scars on the moon. And yeah, thanks for reading, Arjuna. Just before Japa this morning, we mentioned about this poem by the poet Jayadev. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he especially was appreciating and immersed in the poems of three Vaishnava poets, Jayadev, Goswami, Chandidas, and Vidyapati. And so, like everyone's familiar with, in the morning we sing the mantra to honor Lord Nrsimhadev, Tavakara Kamalavare Nakama Bhuta Shringam Dalita Hirani Kashipu Tanubringam Kesava Dvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. So actually that mantra, it's one stanza of a 12 stanza song revealed by the poet Jayadev. And this song is called Das Avatar. Avatar means incarnation. Das means 10. So in that song, Jayadev, he glorifies, each stanza glorifies one of the 10 major incarnations of Krishna, the major avatars of Krishna. And so, and Prabhupada quotes those stanzas quite a lot, especially the one about Lord Buddha, who was a Shaktivesha avatar of Krishna. And so this is the stanza from Jayadev about the Varaha incarnation, or Sikare, the boar incarnation. Hare Krishna.
Would anyone else like to read? I can continue. Okay. Verse 28. He was personally the Supreme Lord Vishnu and was therefore transcendental. Yet because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful, and he glanced over the devotee brahmanas engaged in offering prayers. Thus he entered the water. Purport by Prabhupada. We should always remember that although the body of a hog is material, the hog form of the Lord was not materially contaminated. It is not possible for an earthly hog to assume a gigantic form spreading throughout the sky, beginning from the Satyaloka. His body is always transcendental in all circumstances. Therefore, the assumption of the form of a boar is only his pastime. His body is all Vedas, or transcendental. But since he had assumed the form of a boar, he began to search out the earth by smelling, just like a hog. The Lord can perfectly play the part of any living entity. The gigantic feature of the boar was certainly very fearful for all non-devotees, but to pure devotees of the Lord he was not at all fearful. On the contrary, he was so pleasingly glancing upon his devotees that all of them felt transcendental happiness. 29. Diving into the water like a gigantic mountain, Lord Boar divided the middle of the ocean, and 2 high waves appeared as the arms of the ocean, which cried loudly as if praying to the Lord. O Lord of all sacrifices, do not cut me in two. Kindly give me protection. Purport. Even the great ocean was perturbed by the falling of the mountain-like body of the transcendental boar, and appeared to be frightened as if death were imminent. 30. Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows, and found the limits of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth, the resting place for all living beings, lying as it was in the beginning of creation, and he personally lifted it. Purport. The word Rasyam is sometimes interpreted to mean Rasatala, the lowest planetary system, but that is not applicable in this connection, according to Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura. The Earth is 7 times superior to the other planetary systems, namely Tala, Atala, Tala, Vitala, Rasatala, Patala. Therefore, the Earth cannot be situated in the Rasatala planetary system. It is described in the Vishnu Dharma. Patala Mule Vara Boga Samhatao
Yashatao Pitivim Chabibrata Yasopano Nampabu Vasochuto Mamastu Mangalaya Vivritaye Hari.
Therefore the Lord found the earth on the bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean, where the planets rest during the devastation at the end of Brahma's day.
Text 31. Lord Boar very easily took the earth on his tusks and got it out of the water. Thus he appeared very splendid. Then his anger, glowing like the Sudarshana wheel, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the Vedic literatures describe the incarnation of Lord Varaha, Boar, in 2 different devastations, namely the Chakshutra. Did I say that right? No.
Chakshusha.
Chakshusha,
yeah.
Chakshusha devastation, and the Svayambhuva devastation. Is that right? This particular appearance of the boar incarnation actually took place in the Svayambhuva devastation, when all planets other than the higher ones, Jana, Mahar, and Satya, merged in the water of devastation. This particular incarnation of the boar was seen by the inhabitants of the planets mentioned above. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti suggests that the sage Maitreya amalgamated both the boar incarnations in different devastations and summarized them in his description to Vidura. Thereupon, so this, I guess it's 32. Thereupon, Lord Boar killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth.
Text 33. Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusk. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamala tree, and thus the sages, headed by Brahma, could understand him to be the Supreme Person of Godhead and offered respectful obeisances unto the Lord.
Text 34. All the sages uttered with great respect, O unconquerable enjoyer of all sacrifices, all glories and all victories unto you. You are moving in your form of the personified Vedas, and in the hair holes of your body the oceans are submerged. For certain reasons, to uplift the earth, you have now assumed the form of a boar.
Hare Krishna. So we're reading about King Prithu, and we're referencing King Vena before him, who lost Dharma for the world, and now we're reading about someone who gained Dharma for the world, and now the world's being rescued again from the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean. And there's a lot of similarities, and like there's all this praise going on when I'm listening to this reading this morning. I'm thinking about like all the pastimes that have these congregations of sages and devotees and pure devotees and singing the prayers, and then Krishna hears them, and if somebody was outside our house singing our name, we would hear it, right? It would feel good, and it would be, and they would come, and we get, he hears these prayers, he hears the singing, he hears the transcendental vibration, and we've been uttering transcendental vibration this morning since before 5 a.m. So when I was sitting over where Stephanie was sitting today, and I was doing my japa, I had some visions like Krishna's here. We're saying his name, so he's showing up in person. He's being here. He was here when we were singing the prayers at the altar, and when we were doing kirtan, he was dancing with us. And when Anasuya was singing Jai Radha, he was in the forest and walking and here too at the same time. And so all of that visual of we're singing to invoke that presence, and so it brings it to a closer to the heart, instead of just performing a song or reciting a mantra or whatever. It really, like, to have that feeling of connection. I could feel it today because I had so much immersion yesterday. My vibration's higher today, and so we've got this conceivable form, King Prithu. We've got this inconceivable form, Lord Varaha. And so, but there's form, nonetheless, there's form, right? There's form, and it can be any form. It doesn't have to be something we can conceive or we can understand. So, but we need parampara to understand it. If I had this book at home, and I didn't have Dear Govinda, and I didn't have Melanie, and I didn't have Sabatova, and I couldn't hear myself think, and I was just working all day, and I thought I'd open a little book before I went to bed, it wouldn't work. I couldn't understand it. I would get frustrated, and it would just sound too strange. So we need, Prabhupada has translated it so nicely for us, but we also need help in our community through other teachers and each other, and supportive reading groups and online reading groups and chances to lead ourselves, so that it starts feeling like that deep connection, rather than just reading a literature book. It's not the same. Yesterday, I told Anasuya this because it happens every time I was preparing for class, and I really just cut the day off, and I didn't have anybody there, and I was enjoying my reading time. And of course, I have neighbors stop by, so 2 stopped by yesterday, but I wanted to tell you about one because she came last time too. It's so divinely orchestrated. She makes yogurt, and she goes to Costco, and for whatever reason, I have never asked her for a thing. She brings a load from Costco and homemade yogurt about once every week. So she chose to do it on Tuesday or Wednesday when I was reading. And she texted me, and I said, well, come on over, but I can't chat very long. I'm immersed in spiritual wisdom. I said, but I will trade you some spiritual wisdom for the yogurt. So come in and chat spiritual wisdom, and then I have to go back to work. And so she came in, and she didn't say, what the heck? She didn't say, well, I've got my own spiritual wisdom. She's very devout Catholic. She didn't say that. She just came in and said, what's the spiritual wisdom? And sat on the couch. And I read her the verse, and we talked about it. And so if I were not here this morning and been here so many hundreds, maybe 1,000 times in Dear Govinda's ashram and reading so intently yesterday. It could have looked like a Costco discussion or a how is your family doing or what's the weather doing, right? So it empowers us. I mean, Krishna, I had Prabhupada at the desk with me yesterday, and in the midst of the mess that I created, my computer went down, my printer didn't work, I had to go get another toner for one of the printers, and then finally I just sent some stuff to Anasuya and I said, you print the transcendental stuff because I'm just going to have to go back to my cards. I was trying to get off the cards. I was trying to be not so addicted. But I was like, why do I do that? This works for me. So I just went back to this. So this form, getting back to the form.
I say that is so classically Brahminical.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about Dharma, and there's the role of the Kshatriyas, the Vaishnav king leaders, warriors like that. And then the Brahmins, the Brahmins, they don't take salary. They simply cultivate spiritual wisdom and share it. They cultivate spiritual wisdom and share it, and then they're just open for reciprocation in the form of homemade yogurt or in the form of whatever. So that is so Brahminical what you're doing in Melrose. Hare Krishna.
It's such an odd flavor of it, but it definitely works. Brahminical, you're reminding me of so much has been going on in the Bhagavatam in Canto 4, Chapter 21, because Prithu is he's at his own coronation, but he's like the most humble guy. So he's Krishna, but he's exhibiting the Brahminical culture.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And so he goes to I was thinking this. What do you guys think? And here's what I'm going to say today, or here's my meditation, but I defer to you. So all these Brahminical sages are there, and he's taking advice from them, even though he's the lead of the world and he's Krishna incarnate. So that it's such a good practice to hear and read about that and think about how I can bring that into my life. Prabhupada, when I've heard you say this about Prabhupada so many times. And yesterday I was listening to, of course, some random thing while I was cooking the prasadam, and Prabhupada brought it up, and I was like, oh, there's that story again. So I'm just going to bring it into class today, is because it deals with form. And when I was in graduate school, I was very assertive, and I was finding my way. You know, I was very repressed as a child and quiet and shy, and I stayed that way for a long time. But I started studying and becoming sort of academic, and I was really making straight A's, and I was taking some PhD level courses I'm not that smart academically on paper, but I really love to learn. So I went to ask if I could take some PhD level courses in my graduate school, and there's one on British history, and they talked about all the prime ministers, and I really didn't have any clue, but I learned it all, and the professor was really good, and it was a very enlivening class, and so we learned about this Prime Minister Gladstone, and then Prabhupada speaks about Gladstone. So it's so funny how, like, I didn't hesitate to know who that was when that story comes up. I don't know if you've ever even said his name, Mr. Gladstone, but yesterday I heard something and I went, oh, that's from that. I totally remember, y'all. That was like 1984 or something, but I remember it. So anyway, He uses that example. So he's got this CEO position. He's wearing a suit. He's got a high-priced office. He's got a secretary out front. He's got a job that a lot of money and confidence rides on him. But when his kid shows up to work, he shuts the door and he gets down on all fours and becomes a horse for a minute. And he's playing, and the guy outside waiting on the next meeting waits like an hour. And he's... What's he doing in there? I had an appointment, and he's in there playing horse with his grandchild or kid or something. So, Mr. Gladstone. So I'm thinking about how I love how the dots connect in my life of being familiar with a name, a British name, and then it surfacing in a way that's spiritual. And I'm feeling like that moment that he decides to take off the CEO hat and put on the horse hat is Prabhupada uses as a way to understand all these forms. Yeah, doesn't mean he's always a horse. And Krishna can be whatever he wants to for a moment, for a lifetime. It doesn't matter. And so we have to understand that inconceivability as with that little silly story. It's like, well, we all, you know, I wore the hat of an event planner for almost 30 years, and I thought that's who I was. I could plan it like I was the best, y'all. I was so good at it. I don't even think about that stuff anymore, but it peeps out every now and then when I'm hosting an event. But I had no fear. Give me 1,000 people at 6 in the morning, I could handle it. So many times I catered and set up huge events at University of Florida for thousands of people, and could create the menus and the floor plans and the flow and the music and the background, the lights, the whole thing. It's so intense, y'all. But it wasn't intense to me. Stephanie is the only person that ever witnessed me in that mode. So you got to see what it's like. You were there for one of our 1,000-person parties at the what was that museum? The Cave Museum. Stephanie came and helped. Yeah, that was 1,000 people for dinner. No stress, right? I didn't even stay the whole time. I went and checked on it. My team had it. I taught them well. I went and said hello, did a few things, and then we left. I left, and this thing had lights outside, parking attendants for 1,000 people in downtown Gainesville. It can get complicated, but it wasn't complicated for me. So I just put that hat on and pulled it down tight and wore it. That's who I am, and I'm good at it, and I get a lot of recognition and fame and money for it. So everybody would call and say, you know, they would book years in advance because I just could do it. And so I had no idea there was another person under here that had nothing to do with that hat. You know, I'm a devotee, and that's all I really want to do right now. That's all I want to do. I wanted to have a day like yesterday, every day, to be devotional and to be grateful for Srila Prabhupada coming into my life, for intercepting me, for bringing me back to some kind of dharma. But there's just a lot of discussion about the form of God and personalism in this class and every class that's got to do with Krishna consciousness, but that puts too much limit on him.
Yeah, I do reference that story of the this very important person playing the horsey for his grandchild, but I never mentioned the name Gladstone, so you're bringing that in. You learned that in a course. It was the Prime Minister, and Prabhupada uses that to illustrate about rasa. So Gladstone, he had all these people in a sense worshipping him, like in a sense, if it's a big entertainment star or political figure or sports star, it's like a worship. You know, I'll give you something if you give me fame and let me have a picture with you and give me a job or something. And so all these people, and was in on reverence, and at the same time, what's more dear to him is just this genuine love of the grandchild, and he's ready to be subordinate. Yeah, you be my horsey. So he's enjoying that so much more than a big business magnate or a political colleague who's awe and reverence. He's this great person in material society is enjoying that so much more because it's such an innocent, sweet love. And so similarly, Krishna gets so much more pleasure, satisfaction when the cowherd boys are defeating him in wrestling and they ride on his back, or Mother Yashoda is chastising him, these very sweet personal pastimes, rather than worshipping him with awe and reverence. Of course, we don't want to imitate the sweetly intimate, affectionate pastimes of the cowherd boys or the gopis, and we want to come out of Maya by serving Radha Krishna in awe and reverence. But then once on that level of purity, there's gradations of more and more intimacy. So Prabhupada uses that to illustrate about rasa and personal relationship. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, you're good. There's also a parallel with the Pandavas and the Bhagavad Gita. So it's obviously a theme. It's the way it is. It's natural law. It's the thing. And so this Krishna, came for that battle to have that discussion with Arjuna because irreligion had taken over. So we see this over and over again, and we can't. It's an absolute truth. This is what he doesn't have to, but he cares. He's compassionate. He sees it. He witnesses it, and then we don't know how he's going to show up. It might be as Lord Chaitanya, it might be on the battlefield of Krishna, it might be Lord Varaha, a pig, it might be any of those forms we talked about this morning, the fish, the turtle, we don't, half man, half wine, it might be any of those. And so don't underestimate anything that we're observing. That's the verse that when Krishna's on the battlefield, when he just says, I surrender, I need help. That's where we have to be. It's a when that submissiveness and that inquisitiveness comes to surface in us finally, and I've only been doing this 9 or 10 years, and I still don't. It's still just, I don't think I have a submissive bone in my body. Like it's so, I see that it's very attractive, and I want that, and I just keep reading and keep chanting and praying for, because it just being good at japa isn't enough. I mean, there's so much more too, although that's the cornerstone of all this. So I'm just looking to see if I have anything else I want to talk about. Teaching today is a way to sacrifice, is a way to worship, and getting up this morning early. Actually, my alarm didn't go off today. Krishna woke me up. I get up early anyway, so it wasn't like I was sleeping in, but I was laying there thinking, it feels like time to get up. Maybe I'll just get up and read my notes and do a couple of rounds. And I looked at the clock and it was almost 4, and I usually get up at 3. So I was like, oh, thanks, Krishna. So I rushed a little bit, but I was like, I'm going to be with friends, and I'm going to talk about Krishna. He's going to protect me, and he's going to give me insights and words, and he's going to stabilize my mood so that I'm not wondering what I did wrong with my alarm. My phone was dead. I don't know what happened, but it doesn't matter. And so I noticed that the other day my car broke down on the way to morning program on the 441. I called Rosa. She came, got me. I did the whole program, and then had it towed later. Like, it's not a big deal. And so that's where I noticed my Krishna consciousness. The drama doesn't take over my life anymore. So then I think, well, maybe there's a couple of Vaishnav-ish qualities cultivating in my body. But Krishna is so inconceivable. Even Brahma's like, I don't know what's going on. Look at this. And he takes a moment. And I think that's what I'm learning to do. It's like, well, look what's happening. Let me take a moment. And let me know that not a blade of grass moves without Krishna's consent. So everything's just the way it is. And so why do I need to go into hysteria or some kind of overthinking? Or I don't need to do any of that. And I don't most of the time. Not always, most of the time. And that is not the person that Stephanie met on that 1,000-person event. I was in control. I was in complete control. And some things went wrong that night, but I know how to hide them because I'm good at it. But you're not going to have a perfect event with that many wheels turning. But it's not that ecstatic kind of constant rajasic controlling personality that I had then. So then I just keep going. That's what keeps me going, because I know Brahma guessed that it was God. Who else could it be, right? But he didn't know. He had to think about it for a minute. So this Pritu's like this, that because he's a Shaktivesha Avatar, he's got this empowered duty that he's got to take care of. He's a jiva. He was a jiva soul though. And Lord Varaha is not. He's Vishnu Tap, but it's a different kind. So when it goes into all these incarnations and expansions, I get lost, I have to tell you, but I'm not as lost. So another sign that maybe some of this stuff is sinking in. So this mission that both of these incarnations have to take care of. They're devotees, of course they want to take care of it. Of course they're, yes, how can I help? And so this being a servant, a divine servant, that's who we are practicing to be. That's who I'm practicing to be. So I know that, Bhagavad Gita tells me to be an instrument. I'm a divine instrument. And every morning I say that in my prayers. Like, whatever instrument, what can I do today? I trust your guidance. It needs to not look like what I think I need to do. I have my plan, but I keep it loose because I know there's interventions like yesterday's yogurt delivery. There's, I would pray for one day at Prabhupada's house with no visitors. Sometimes I pray for that. because there's no consistency in my schedule. So if I think I'm gonna do yoga, I think I'm gonna cook, I think I'm gonna clean the kitchen, I think I'm gonna relax, I think I'm gonna chant some extra rounds or read, forget it. It's a public house. And so every day reminding myself of that every morning that I'm a divine instrument. So it looks like whatever Krishna wants it to look like. And so I also can take that as when I feel like nobody's showing up for me or I'm feeling needy, that's my lesson too. I can look at that and say, okay, I'll just go with the flow of whoever shows up here, not passively and in a way that's not like just whimsical, but I can set boundaries, and I do. I set some even with Kathy yesterday. I said, okay, I only have a few minutes, but if we're going to exchange, it's going to be divine wisdom exchange. And what I heard from her yesterday was she brought something too, not just the yoga. She brought some of her divine wisdom, and she was sharing it with me. And I think she prepared it knowing that we were going to do that, because she had something tucked away that she'd been reading, and I could tell it was new and kind of serious to her. And so she was explaining it to me, and we were connecting with the verse, with this verse and her sharing. And so I was very grateful for that interruption, because it allowed me to express what I'm reading and to also hear her point of view, and there's no tension, you know. So association from devotees, I can take association today from Dear Govinda and from being here with all of you guys, and I can give association to my neighbors. And it's hard sometimes, and it's not what I want to do, but there's no room for independence here. I mean, Krishna is just that's not going to take me where I want to go. And yesterday I was listening to a class on YouTube, and I was like, I had this huge reflection just download on me. It said, like, how many lifetimes could I just hang out in Krishna consciousness? I could just be a devotee, like for I could be just like, I'm chanting, I'm reading, I'm going to programs, I'm cooking. Like, I could just be like, this is good. This is good. This is sattvic. For the most part, my life is sattvic. And I could just be okay with that. Like, it's not that bad. And I really don't have any complaints at all, you know? But I could just keep coming back and keep being a devotee. And that's okay. But to be in this movement means we're on the way out. We're endeavoring to embody those rabbinical qualities that we're hearing about from these devotees, to understand and get to know God. And how do we do that? We got to show up. We got to choose to show up. So every day it's a choice. And some days I feel tired, or I feel distracted, or I feel annoyed, or whatever, I still got to show up. And it's a choice. It's not like whether it fits in my schedule and how my body's going to see and how many hours of sleep I need. Sometimes my brain will go to calculating that, because it did it for so many decades before I found Krishna. It'll just drop right into old habits, like, well, if I go to bed this time and I get up this time, and it's nonsense. Like, why don't I just read until I can't read, which is what I did yesterday, and sometimes I did, and then sleep however much my body needs, and then set my alarm, because I'm committed to show up in Alachua. I'm committed to chant my all 16 rounds today and 4 extra ones. I'm committed to the prasadam being delicious. I'm committed to singing with my heart these prayers. I'm committed to understanding what I'm reading and sharing it with you guys in a way that I hope has some kind of meaning. Guru Shastra, Sangha. Over and over again, everything relates back to that, and that's the only way. I have a teacher. I have Prabhupada in all of these acharyas. I have Dear Govinda. There's a lot of people I can call if I'm confused or need support. And the scripture, Krishna gave us these scriptures. So, and we have translators, because gosh, if they were still in Sanskrit, what would we do? Or if the wrong person translated them, what we do? Somebody that was motivated by who knows what, because every other teacher and guru and yogi I've met, they are so. I've sat with a few, y'all, over my years of exploring before I came to Krishna consciousness. Even since I came to Krishna's consciousness, I would get sidetracked every now and then and go sit with somebody who has even people that they're highly regarded, and I could see I didn't feel it. I don't feel that vibrance, that connection, that enthusiasm, that trust, that deep trust. It's just not there. So with Prabhupada, that's easy to have faith, because I don't have any doubt. So this sangha right here, this routine that we have created so that we always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And so, why do we have to restore? Why does Krishna have to keep coming back and fixing everything? Why do we keep screwing it up? Why are there demons? So to restore Dharma, so that we come back to our original constitutional position of serving Krishna, and that being our only and main goal in life, it's not going to autocorrect. Like, what if I just was really nice? What if I took classes on communication and I was really nice? And what if I was a really good cook? And what if I had lots of money in the bank? And what if I was settled? Even if I had a cabin in the woods and reading the Bhagavatam, there's still more to it than that. There's divine intervention is required for this movement to sustain and grow, and for me to be able to share it in some kind of way that's meaningful. I have to put myself on the line like I'm doing right now. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time, but I'm trying to be honest with myself and share where I'm at today. And that takes a lot of courage for me, because I don't like doing it. I would rather be in Prabhupada's house, and those four walls. It's safe and comfortable, and all the books are there, and I can just be in my head. But that independence it kills me, right? So when I align my duties in the daytime with service, and it's so variable out there, variegated. It's so variegated. It's just so, I can't even tell you guys. It could be a book. Honestly, you've seen it. Maybe I've seen it, but it's just like, it's so divine out there. And sometimes I want to leave because there's no devotees, but there's all these other people. And Krishna somehow has put me in the neighborhood. So I'm coming up here to get my association, where I'm taking some association, and hopefully giving some too. But he does it because how could a caring person look at a degrading situation and let it keep degrading and do nothing, and hear all the songs and prayers and divine request and the pure devotees singing to him, and go on, you guys made this mess, you're gonna have to lay in it, like, of course. And so even if he doesn't incarnate and come today, as there's all of this. Look, there's a whole bunch of them up there, of incarnations, and there's volumes of them.
Krishna is incarnated in his name.
Yeah.
Like that's described. That's the main avatar in this incarnate Kali Player, Nama Krishna Dharma Sankirtan. The main incarnation in this age is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's to be emphasized. That Krishna is fully present in his name, and that's it's really the most emphasized, empowered Shakti incarnation. Hare Krishna.
I think I can stop there. There's so much, taking two different pastimes and trying to amalgamate them was challenging. It's not really, because I could see my little brain could see the link, but it couldn't. I had to sit with it to put it together on how to share it with you guys, and that's the challenge of leading class, is like, how do I? And I know I talk fast, and I got all this stuff firing. It's like fireworks up here, and so which words get to come out, I don't know. It's hard to decide, but yeah, I'll stop there and see if anybody wants to say anything or ask anything about these two pastimes, paralleling and restoration of Dharma. It's kind of our topic today. We can each restore our own Dharma starting now if we want to. We choose to. It's in there. Yes, Rosa.
Hare Krishna, I've very much been enlivened by reading the pastimes of Rama, and in this one, it's not dissimilar, right? So what we were reading together, the boar comes from his nostril, but before that, he was in the question, right? They had come to him about what was going on, and he was in the question about
he didn't
what to
react.
do. Exactly, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, like terrible, and
Gossip.
No, he was in the question, and by being in the question, God presented himself. Krishna came, and I just think in my life, of the few times that I can do what does it look like where I can be in the question and I can be honest with myself of like, well, I don't have the answer right now, but I'm in the question and how something moves. And it's very similar. It's like, oh, look at that. That was unexpected. And then how we similarly can identify it as God because it's inconceivable. It's like, I didn't do that, but here it was, just from having the question. And connected to that, you said there's no room for independence, and I wanted to expand a little bit on that. I've heard Dear Govinda say before, I'm trying to remember what it was about. It might have been about the 4 regulative principles of freedom. You'd think with a statement like there's no room for independence that it would be constraining, but it isn't. The principle that I understand is surrender and understand how much more expansiveness you will experience.
Yeah.
Ironically, right? Like it's so much bigger than anything you can conceive. What our experience can be from surrender and dependency with Krishna. And the last thing I wanted to say was, you said like, why do we keep messing it up? And he keeps coming to fix it. I was recently reading a lecture from Prabhupada, and he was giving the warden example, right? So the prison and the warden. And there was a sentence that was really meaningful to me, the way it was written. He says, the warden comes to the prison because it's his, and they start to spell what I'm assuming was duty. They just said D-U, and then they did a dash, and they said, because it pleases him. So it's not Krishna's like duty. He doesn't have to. He comes because it pleases him.
Because we're pleasing him with our prayers and songs and japa. And
the way I get it is it's the rasa, right? So like he wants that loving relationship so much. And so when we get off track, it's like, well, no.
He doesn't give up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be giving up. That wouldn't be very Brahminical or Vaishnava quality of, well, they've had a few chances. I mean, I watch all of us in this group of Savatov devotees that are patient, and I mean, all the years of patience that Malini and Dear Govinda took with me, I've seen them do it with them. Like, no judgment, just I get to choose. And being patient with when I show up, I'm still received 100%, just like Krishna would do. I mean, that's evoking that Brahminical quality of patience and tolerance and in ourselves, and learning how to do that, and is witnessing it and reading these pastimes. Yeah, not just I don't have any more left for you. Yeah. Thank you, Rosa. You're inspired by quite a few things there. Yeah, you wrote some stuff down. Thank you for sharing. Independence. There's no room for independence.
I say this Krishna consciousness is about expanding our independence. It's about just because independence is always there. And the nature of the soul, we have free will, self-determination, independence. So I would say there's no room for misusing our independence. We can take the warden, prison, society example. And so the citizens, let's say the law-abiding citizens who are contributing to society, they have full independence. They're following the laws of the state, the king, the queen, the president, prime minister, whatever terms we want to use. And so they follow, and then they've like, I want to go to the woods on a vacation. I want to go to this museum. I want to take my family here. I want to do this business and that. They full independence. And then when independence is misused, okay, then independence is constrained in the government department called the prison. And then it's like, okay, well now you're in this prison. And then if we continue to misuse independence in the prison, okay, now you're in solitary confinement. Now you're in a straitjacket. And so the warden or the governor visiting, they want the full, they want the inmates to enjoy full freedom and independence. And they know the path for that is choose choose to use your independence to serve the king and queen and to follow the laws. And then you're free. The regulative principles of freedom. It's just like, yeah, that we choose to use our independence to follow the laws. Drive on the right side, stop at a red light, slow down, stop at a stop sign. And then we're independent now. Yeah, I want to drive to California. I want to drive to the Hippodrome. I want to drive to Miami. Then we have free independence, and so those regulative principles are of freedom. They're freeing, and if we take that in a sense out of the analogy, so to the extent that we choose bhakti, then we're free. Then our independence is fully shining brightly. And to the extent we're associating with lower modes of nature, rajas and tamas, then we're tying ourselves up. Guna means rope. Then we're tying ourselves up like in the prison or solitary confinement. And that's from, if we misuse our independence, then our independence is constrained. And we use it as it's meant to be used in service to watering the root of the tree, true win-win for everyone. Then we're free from the embarrassment of being slaves to the modes of material nature. Then we get to use the material energy in spiritual ways. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I guess what's hearing you say that, Durga, what's coming up for me is like that psychophysical nature of like knowing what my strengths are,
Yeah.
and not, because sometimes that word independent, like, I am woman, hear me roar, I got it in front of the bacon in the pan, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's a generational thing, and I get asked that a lot by the younger girls that visit the house. Like, they want that independence, that empowerment of self or whatever. But it's like, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling from just listening to you just then is like, well, I have these certain qualities and gifts and talents, and they're all given to me, and how I could use them for me and decide what I like to do, and I could do it my way.
Yeah.
Or I can take all of those talents and employ them in service and match that up with some sacrifices, some japa, and I'm on my way. And it sounds so much more pleasing or welcoming than, I'm going to put my stick in the mud and I'm drawing a line. I'm independent. Don't tell me what to do. Like, that's how I live so much of my life, because that's how the women were doing it all around me.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of a turnoff. But there's such a distinction in that word independence. Like, how do we use our independence? Yeah, I'm independent. I'm living out there by myself.
Yeah.
Right. So I could be independent all day long and just make myself enjoy myself. Right. Or I could say, how do I use this independence? Like, Krishna gave me that. I didn't apply for that home. I didn't buy that home. So it's like, well, here's the tools. Now the independence can come into play because I happen to have a lot of qualities of independence, but they don't have to be me always getting my way and having and controlling everything for my own personal enjoyment. Like, I have a nature that works perfectly for the space I've been given.
Using your independence to serve and please Prabhupada at Prabhupada House.
Yeah, not at Leah's house. A lot of people know that as Leah's house, though. It's kind of confusing for everybody. And then we call it the Bhakti Retreat House online because everybody got stumbled up with Prabhupada, and it was really difficult for people. And they wouldn't even book it. They didn't know, what are you doing? Like, who is that? And it was hard. So we have two names and two identities. And then we have Leah and Laksmipriya, and so it gets a little bit, but no, it seems to flow. I guess, you have the same thing here sometimes when you have new type people, so you can understand that. Anyway, thank you, Hare Krishna. I appreciate the blessings. I begged for blessings from Prabhupada and Krishna yesterday, and from these pastimes, and he's begging in here, like, okay, let's that dust, let's come down to our knees, to our head to the floor, the dust on our heads, on our crowns, whether we're wearing a crown or not. We all have a crown, the crown chakra, the crown. In yoga, we say, press your crown to the ceiling, press the crown. So I'm thinking of that, like, how do we press our crown to the ceiling so they have good posture, and we're tall and we're strong and we're vibrant, but also wear the dust up there on the crown. Like it's a submissive nature. Yeah, that most Americans we're not trained too much about submissiveness or surrender. So I'll read the verse one more time and we'll close this class. This is Canto 4, chapter 21, text 43. O respectable personalities present here, I beg the blessings of all of you, that I may perpetually carry on my crown the dust of the lotus feet of such Brahmas and Vaishnavas until the end of my life. He who can carry such dust on his head is very soon relieved of all the reactions, which arise from sinful life. And eventually he develops all good and desirable qualities. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare
Lord
Krishna.
Varahadeva ki
Thank you,
Jai,
Arjun.
thank you for your lecture.
Thank you,
Mother
Arjun.
Laksmipriya.
Thanks for
Haribol.
reading with us, Haribol.
Hare
Haribol,
Krishna.
Rukmini, nice to see you all.
Hari,
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.